morning, Spain. How lovely to have you with us once again. April is such an emblematic month because it's the start of all the ferias. They begin on the 14th of April in Sevilla, which is probably one of the most well-known, with over 1 million people coming to Sevilla for the fair. Kate Hill is going to be one of those million, and she got herself a fabulous flamenco dress to feel and look the part. We'll also be travelling to Madrid to meet His Majesty's Ambassador Hugh Elliott and Laura Aranth, our correspondent, who is chatting with some flamenco dancers. Nick will be cooking in the Good Morning Spain kitchen. At the food room, we'll be snouting and abouting with Nando Brown. Hannah Alonso Bartlett is going to teach us the art of saying no. And Hannah Murray in All Things Books will be talking about books that cover people moving abroad and life as an expat. Lots of things to get through, so let's get started. Good morning, girls.
Good morning.
How are you both? Very. It's like
that was a school song. Good morning. Yes.
I like to be the school mom. Like everyone in control. Everyone sitting comfortably. Then we shall begin. Very excited about your segment today, the art of saying no. I'm a people pleaser. I did a little test the other day on one of the people I was interviewing, actually from Marbella now. And you had this little test to see if you're a people pleaser. And it's like, yeah, I think I am. It's hard to say no when you like helping people, and if you can. If you're capable and you can do it, it's like, why not? Except maybe it gives you no life left to do anything else.
I feel like you've presented this so well because you've fallen into the trap. We think that saying yes to everyone is giving, but very often, okay, let's define, what is a people pleaser? A people pleaser is someone that wants everyone to like them, right? So who's winning if everyone likes you? You, right? So what is a people pleaser? We want everyone to be pleased with us. We are avoiding the feeling, the uncomfortable feeling that comes from conflict, right? So I like you. I'm going somewhere with this.
Yeah, exactly. That's a relief.
Relax now. Yeah. Right? But imagine we, for whatever reason, got into a conflict. Well, a lot of people don't say a no, or they don't say, what they really feel, because they don't want to feel the sensations in their body, their emotions in their body that they may feel if there's a conflict, right? So let's say we fell out because you stole my pencil, if we're at school, I might have I feel like this uncomfortable, this discomfort in my body of maybe she doesn't like me, maybe this means I'm a bad person, right? And so what I would do is I'd try and please you, so maybe say yes to everything that you demand from me. But it's not really to give to her, it's so I don't have to feel the uncomfortable sensation of her maybe not being pleased with me, right? So when we start saying no, we actually start going into our truth. So we've all heard of this analogy. You're in a plane and the oxygen, there's a problem with the oxygen. What do they say? Get your gas mask first, right?
Right, your oxygen mask, yeah. You put your oxygen mask.
Gas mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Your gas mask.
It's okay. It's a similar thing.
You know what I mean.
We know exactly what you mean.
Oxygen mask first, right? Why? Because if you're, not alive, you can't help anyone. So it's the same with us in our lives. If we're full of resentment because we're saying yes to everyone and we're exhausted, if we're burnt out, if we don't feel good, if we're not healthy, right? Well, the giving that you're giving is coming from a place of I'm not full, right? I'm not full, I don't have full energy, so are you really giving? You're giving a teeny bit. The reason that I share this is I was a primary caregiver and I thought that I was such a good person because I gave my whole life to my mother. But then I developed chronic illness. And I had to really look at, Hannah, where are you giving to others but you don't give to yourself, right? Where are you saying yes to stuff that's actually hurting you? And actually a byproduct of looking at this and looking at the people pleasing improved my relationships. Because instead of saying yes, whatever you want, let me tie this in a bow and be incredible for you, I started, saying yes and no, depending on what was true, which led to more intimacy in relationships because I was telling the truth, not just what that person wanted me to hear. Right? And this is a big thing, having a business and being a face. Not everyone is going to like you. And if we are going to have big lives and all of these things, we need to make peace with whatever that makes us feel inside our bodies.
Something that really helped me in that respect was when someone mentioned that if you get a landslide win in like a voting of the government, 51% was a landslide win, which meant 49% didn't like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is life, in the sense that not everyone can like you. And going back to a few weeks ago, you spoke about getting in touch with your feelings. When I started realizing how I was feeling when I was saying, yes, I would go and do this, or I'll go and record that, or I'll go and help you. When I actually started noticing how I was feeling when I replied, it's actually easy to know the things that you want to do and you don't want to do, because I get awful tummy aches and feel really bad, and then I began to realise I'm only getting tummy aches when I'm doing that. I actually don't really want to do that. But it's very hard to get to that point, and then when you realise it, do something about it and actually voice and say no.
Let's bring it back to romantic relationships. If you've got someone that's saying yes, 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 yes all of the time to things that they don't want to do, what's the emotion that gets trapped in the body? Resentment.
Yeah, and that builds.
And it builds.
It builds.
And then one day they do something tiny and it's the biggest fight. How dare you, da 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 da. And it actually has nothing to do with that. It's all of those tiny moments of saying yes to things, not expressing things that have built up, built up, built up. So actually telling someone the truth and having a very uncomfortable conversation leads to intimacy in the long run, right? It gives a place for the relationship to form.
Any tips quickly before we finish on how to start saying no? Is there a plan or like little bits that we can get ourselves on the right track?
I think the first step is you have to listen to yourself, and you need to create enough space in your life to know what is a yes and what is a no. And the real practice is saying no, understanding that no is a full sentence. We don't have to give these long explanations that last for 7 years.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
that
Like,
justifying. I can't go because
I can't go to this, and then this happened, and then the other person's like, what just happened? You know, I didn't care.
When a normal no would have sufficed.
Normal no would have sufficed. And then also what people do is they say no, and if the other person doesn't respond well, so let's say I say, no, you can't have my pencil. It's my pencil and I don't want to share for whatever reason, and you get really upset and throw a tantrum. This is a very strange scenario. But right, the practice then is not going, okay, I'll give it to you then, because this is what we do. Oh, that person's reacted negatively. That means that I've done something wrong. I need to make sure that their feelings aren't hurt, so I'll go back on what I said to please them. So it's 3 parts, right? Tapping into self, what is actually a yes and a no, right? Understanding that no is a full sentence and that we don't need to over-explain, and then also not going back on our no if someone doesn't react in a nice way.
It's okay that not everyone likes us. Most important that we like
okay.
ourselves and are proud of ourselves, or not like are disappointed with ourselves because we're doing things we don't want to do and then getting resentful.
Yeah, and even that, it's that, you know, if she was upset about the pencil, that's her feelings. And she's a separate person.
It's your
to
problem,
me.
Kate.
It's-
You're not getting a pencil.
It's not about going around and hurting people for the sake of hurting people, but if she has an emotional response at not getting a pencil, then maybe she needs to sit with her emotions around pencils, you know? And so there is emotional, in relationships, we are responsible for our feelings. My partner's very good at this. He's like, Hannah, are you having a big feeling now? Like, 7. I had 7 big feelings and it hasn't been 5 minutes and I would like to tell you all of them. And he's like, I do not want to hear all of them. But that's very good for us, you know, because he's setting his boundaries, he's holding his nose, you know, and he's not building up resentment because I'm just dumping all of my emotions on him. That's another bigger conversation. Let's leave that there.
Next week.
Next week.
That's one for next week. But right now, we're going to Sevilla.
This segment is sponsored by the School of Integrative Healing.
Sevilla is the 4th largest city in Spain and the capital city of Andalusia, and is known for its vibrant flamenco scene, ornate Moorish architecture, picturesque plazas, and some of the country's best and most innovative tapas bars. Sevilla was important in history as a cultural centre, as a capital of Muslim Spain, and as a centre for Spanish exploration of the New World, and is still leaving its mark with the grandeur of its monuments, the charm of areas such as Triana, the scent of jasmine in its squares, and the Spanish guitar music of its streets. With only around 80 days of rain a year, Sevilla may be the sunniest city in Europe with very hot summers, reaching highs of 35 degrees centigrade, but it's so cool that it's truly worth a visit. Have either of you ever been to Sevilla?
I have been to Seville. I love it.
You are off to the Feria de Abril, and there's a saying in Spanish which is envidia sana, healthy jealousy. It's one of my favourite sayings. Envidia sana, when you're like, I'm so excited for you going to the Feria de Abril, but also that little niggle, I want to go too. And you're doing it the whole thing. You've even got yourself a dress. Tell us about the flamenco dress experience? Because I know it's very special for you.
Do you know what? So since I was a little girl, I used to always say to my mum, like, I think it's just the colours, just everything just really fascinates me, and I just adore it. So I used to always say to her, like, Mummy, I really want a dress. And every time we'd go to the markets, never ever got a dress. And I think my poor mum still has nightmares. But last week, my husband actually said to me, he was like, right, block your diary because we've got to be somewhere. And I was like, all right, okay. Anyways, we turned up at this dress flamenco shop, and we walked in, and he was like, right, I couldn't keep it a secret because if we go to Sevilla, you need a dress. And so he was like, choose one that you like. And honestly, I felt like a kid in a candy store. I think I honestly got so excited that the lovely lady Sylvia, I think I was so emotional and so, like, as I say, basically crying with excitement that she didn't know what to do.
She
with
mentioned
herself.
to me that she'd never seen anyone as excited to get themselves a dress. It was actually quite a lovely experience because she was enjoying Kate's enjoyment so much. But you have a contagious excitement. I mean, you enjoy things. You're so enthusiastic about everything, and the dress looks spectacular on you.
Thank you. But do you know what? It was just so much fun. But they are a lot heavier than I thought that they were.
I bet they are. There's a hell of a lot of material.
There's a lot of material.
Yeah.
There's a lot of material.
They really are. And we were laughing about it when we went to try them on because so she fitted it all to my body, and Nicole was actually the first one to see it since it's been fitted. So
really spectacular.
It's really, really heavy though. So like getting it on, I was like squeezing in, and just we were laughing, thinking, oh, what's it going to be like in April? Because if it's really hot and sweaty, it's going to be.
Oh God, yeah.
But it's very forgiving. You get yourself a nice little fan as an accessory, but it really is, it's a lovely thing to do. And one of the most amazing things is, and this is true, every single woman looks good in a flamenco dress. I don't care if you're 6'10", if you're 6 foot wide, it makes no difference. The way they are made is so shapely, it's so feminine because the cut just accentuates the right bits. And correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I've never seen anyone who doesn't look spectacular in a flamenco dress.
They are beautiful. They're very, very pretty bits of kit. Like, they make women look amazing.
They do, they really do, and I think they feel amazing. As a little, my dad used to travel a lot when I was small, and he traveled a lot to Spain. He worked, but every time he came back, he would bring me the typical traditional flamenco dancer doll that had the little wire circle on the bottom that you loaded them up. So I also, from tiny, always had this passion for the flamenco dress. And the first time I got my first flamenco dress, it's a very special moment.
It really is.
And now you're going to the Feria de Abril to actually wear it. I mean, you couldn't be in a better place for experiencing the Spanish flamenco and the fiestas.
And I think as well, because as you say, it's like with everything that goes with the package, it's like obviously you've got the flowers in the hair, you've got the big jewellery, you've got the full on, you know, sorry to say, but kind of like the gypsy makeup.
But it is, it's very much that gypsy, traditional, it's very cool.
And I said to the lovely lady Sylvia, I said, just make me the biggest gypsy that you've ever known.
Yeah, she was like,
what's the process like? What do you have to go through to get fitted for a dress? Like, is it a long...
Do you know what? It's not as kind of, as you say, long as you may think. So you literally just try on, I guess it's just trying on the different dresses, and then obviously you see the fit and the different styles that you like, and then once you kind of settle on one, then she just pins you.
Well, we're very much looking forward to seeing your footage and your photographs of when you come back. Well, actually, while you're there, do some live streaming and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
We're looking forward to that. And have you practiced any flamenco moves yet?
Well, do you know what? I think you're going to have to give me a few little lessons.
Let's get into some lessons. We know where we're going to be shoving you in next. After jazz, next thing is flamenco, which will be easy after the jazz, I'm telling you.
I can't wait.
Yeah, the most important, I think, with the flamenco dancing is the look on the face. It has to be the look of indignance. like, oh, don't waste my time.
Because it is quite an emotional dance as well, though, isn't it? There's a lot of...
But it is a beautiful dance, and it's a very, you say, it's very passionate, and definitely very symbolic of Spain.
Cuando paso por el puente Triana contigo, vida mía. Cuando paso por el puente Triana contigo, vida mía, Triana contigo, vida mía. Con mirarte solamente, Triana, me muero de alegría. Porque tienes unos ojos, Triana, igual que dos luceros, Triana, igual que dos luceros. Y una clase de hechura, Triana, que vale el mundo entero. Si para otro me dejara, Triana, de pena moriría, cariño, te quiero y te querré. Eres mi norte faroles sobre el río. Ve la isla de Santana, Triana, faroles sobre el río, Triana, faroles sobre el río. Puentecitos de avellana, Triana, y tú del brazo mío.
So let's take a look at the ferry of Seville and let's see how they do it. The origins of the April Fair, La Feria de Abril, date back to 1846, when the councilmen José María Ibarra and Narciso Bonaplata had the idea of holding an annual fair of 3 days' duration, which would take place in the month of April for the purchase and sale of livestock. During the Seville Fair, people sing and dance typical dances and songs of the area, in particular the Sevillanas, which were a very typical Spanish dance, but particularly of the Seville Fair. It is danced in pairs and consists of 4 coplas and has typical elements such as the paseillo or the paso de Sevillana. There is always music playing in the background, bursts of colour, polka dots on dresses, riders showing off their horses amidst the crowd, all blending to create a unique and engaging atmosphere.
Alfarero de Triana, Triana, casi en los afina, Triana, casi en los afina. En el cielo hay 2 hermanas, Triana, que son peruquinas. Del cachorro están hablando, Triana, y dicen que no has visto, Triana, y dicen que no has visto. Un semblante agonizante, Triana, igual a Ezequiel.
The festivities continue well into the early hours of the morning, at which time people will search for a cup of hot chocolate with the typical churros, before resting a couple of hours and continuing until the final day of the fair.
Por balcones y ventanas.
Position, position, position. Apparently, if you want an apartment, Frontline Beach in Marbella, you're going to need 5 million euros.
And the blood will dry underneath my nails, and the wind.
Good morning, Spain. This is Marbella. This is what it's all about. Palm trees, sunshine, big, big terrace, and the most beautiful sized living room, dining area. You have downstairs a surprise, which I'm not telling you now, and you'll see what a wonderful place I've brought you to. And this is just one example, but it's difficult to get another one the same, because this is Frontline Beach with community, with security, with very nice swimming pool, big swimming pool for the community, very, very safe, very, very nice. About 5 minutes walk to Puerto Banús, and what else do you want? Enjoy the summer, enjoy Easter, enjoy just by being here. Have your friends, go for good walks on the beachfront, and have a great time. Come inside. I love my work so much. I'm not a workaholic, but I love work. Why? Because I go through beautiful, beautiful homes. I go through nice apartments, nice villas, big estates, smaller estates, and I meet the people. And Marbella is so international.
But I know, no matter what it takes, I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my
Let's see. Thank you.
and they're forgiven
I think this kitchen is so inviting. Whether you're male or female, you're going to love it because you have lots of areas that you can work, big fridge, micro oven.
All the pain of yesterday, I know my kingdom awaits, and they've forgiven my mistakes. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home.
Let's look at the master bedroom, but then you'll have the surprise as you come downstairs. So you can choose. Come here. The bathroom is a bit of a palace on its own. So the surprise is coming. You have this big lounge here, and you have access to the bedroom and the bathroom. But you can shut this bathroom, and if you want your guests to come out to the garden here, look what's here. You have your own private pool. And well, if you want to know more about properties, you know I'm in Portobanus, Christina Sekeli. So you just come wherever I am and follow me. Thank you. Good morning, Spain. See you next week. This was sponsored by me, Christina Sekeli.
It's amazing how many accidents happen with pedestrians. A lot of them are because we're walking along looking at our phone. This is a really big problem nowadays. In fact, I often find myself almost walking into lampposts if I'm walking him and I'm walking wrong and I'm looking at my phone and trying to reply things, and all of a sudden there is a lamppost or a tree in your face. It can be worse if you're crossing roads. And particularly, people seem to think that if they see a zebra crossing, that if they get to it and they just walk across. Spain is not England. In England, we do have a culture, an education of that when you're by a zebra crossing, all the cars immediately come to a halt, you walk across, and when you're completely across the zebra crossing, then the cars carry on. That is not the case in Spain. A zebra crossing here means absolutely nothing. In fact, I think drivers tend to speed up to get through the zebra crossing before you start crossing. And if you're halfway across and they're on the other side of the road, they will carry on as well. If you add to this that you're on your phone texting, then it can be really serious consequences. So it may sound like a silly thing, and this is note to self at the same time. Don't walk around looking at our phones, and please, when you see a zebra crossing in Spain, take it with a pinch of salt. It does not mean the cars are going to stop, or that they're even thinking of stopping. So you stop, and when the coast is clear, having looked right and left, then you may cross. Flamenco is the topic of this week's programme, with the Feria de Abril kicking everything off. But Madrid also celebrates, and they have great flamenco shows. Let's join Laura right now and find out more.
Good morning, Spain. This is Laura Ranz from Madrid in live reporting. Today we are in Centro Cultural Flamenco de Madrid. This is only pure flamenco. No food, no drink, only dance and real ones. Let's introduce you the owners of this place. Hello. Hello. Good morning, Spain.
Good morning, Spain. How are you?
This is Pedro. Lizzie. And Pedro, can you tell us a little bit about Centro Cultural Flamenco?
Yeah, I can tell you this is a very, very intimate place because we are artists, we are the owners and we are artists, and this is a special place because we don't have food, we don't have drinks, and we don't have microphone to see the most pure flamenco. And we have just 50 seats for a very intimate place. If you come here, you're gonna see the most real flamenco, and it's maybe 50-50 improvisation, and you're gonna see the passion, and you're gonna feel the real flamenco.
How many days do you have shows?
We have show every day.
Every day?
From Monday to Sunday, every day. You have 2 or 3 shows, depends.
Okay, and we can book by internet, by the entrance?
The web is flamencocultural.com, and you can buy there, and you can buy here in the entrance.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much. We're going to wait to see a very great show tonight. Thank you. Ole! His Majesty's Ambassador Hugh Elliott's segments are very popular, so let's pop back to the embassy right now.
Make my day. Make my day. Make my.
And here we are once again back in the British Embassy here in Madrid. Quite spectacular views from the 41st floor of these wonderful buildings that have got a great view of the Bernabeu football stadium, very emblematic. It's a little bit of everything at the time. Good morning, His Majesty's Ambassador. I still find it interesting, His Majesty's Ambassador.
Yes, it takes some change. Good morning, Nicole. It's very nice to have you back here.
Thank you very much. It's always a great way to start the day in Madrid and with the British Ambassador. Always very, very busy. I know it doesn't matter what time of year, you seem to be always very busy.
There's plenty on. We don't get bored.
And very interesting, last time we chatted, to hear about all the other things you do regarding crime, that there is a lot of people that come here, obviously not so good, and that you have a lot of coordination with the authorities in that respect. But on a normal day-to-day thing, what are the basic consular services that one can expect?
Well, over 400,000 Brits living here, remember, 17, 18 million visits a year is a huge number of people. Now, of course, if you're living in a country, your first port of call is the Spanish services. Just as if a Spaniard goes to the UK, they'd look to the UK Health Service and so on to take care of them, and UK social services, whatever it might be. But of course, it's not always straightforward, is it? And when people get into trouble, our job and the job of our consular services and the team that we have here in Spain, and this is the biggest team because we've got more people in Spain than anywhere else. It's the biggest team in our network. I still think it's a pretty small team for those 18,400,000 because we only have around 50 people here. So they are pretty busy. But what they get up to, for example, might be helping people who have sort of fallen through the gaps in the social services provision and don't know where to go, helping them navigate the Spanish system, often working with community groups, British community groups, charities who are there to support Brits as well. So we collaborate a lot. We might, for example, I don't know, if there's been a Brit who's visited Spain and gone missing or died. I mean, sadly, with these numbers, it happens. The job of our consular services will then be to support the family of that person, maybe to help support them with the repatriation of the body, help them, again, navigate the Spanish system. I mean, another thing we do, because, again, with those numbers, there are unfortunate incidents, unfortunate cases, and sadly, we find a number of British victims of rape and sexual assault, which is awful. And it's so important when that happens that victims get the best possible support from the services, from police and other services. And we work together, bringing experts from the UK, work with local Spanish authorities. We did this just at the back end of last year with the authorities in Ibiza, to bring together experts, talk through how we approach these cases in such a way as to give the victims the best possible support in this incredibly traumatic time, and thus help those Brits who are abroad and may find themselves in a terrible situation be a little bit.
So they're not completely alone.
Exactly.
So the Spanish authorities obviously then notify you, and then you put everything into practice from the consular then to send the support that they need.
Well, what will tend to happen is that the main support will be from the Spanish services. But if we've worked with the Spanish services and we are confident that they've got great protocols, and we've shared the experience that we've got in the UK to give the most sympathetic support that we possibly can to victims in this case. And I think that another example that you might give, a sort of slightly simpler example, and this happens to an awful lot of people sadly, is when they just lose their passport. That has happened. Have you ever lost your passport, Nicole?
My daughter did, and she was going to the end of school trip to Ibiza or to Mallorca, and she suddenly didn't have a passport, and we appeared here. We arrived.
And
we need an emergency passport.
I hope you got an emergency passport quickly. But that's what we also arrange, just as our consular services around the world do, is if somebody loses their passport or has it stolen, which again unfortunately happened, we can turn that around really quickly and produce an emergency, what we call an emergency travel document. Basically, it's an emergency passport. It's a little light blue thing that looks a bit like a passport, but it gets you home. So all sorts of different ways that we're there to help to help Brits. A lot of it is liaising with local authorities, and very big thank you to all the community groups that work so well with our consulates around the country.
Yes, particularly
because
Brett
without
Bassett,
you,
Anna
it would be
Nandon
an awful lot harder.
Got her MBE, and that was just so
Indeed,
lovely.
wasn't it nice?
Just to see a normal British lady doing the best of she can for her people, and the fact that she got recognised for that gives me goosebumps. It was absolutely quite wonderful and lovely to be present at that event. Technology has raced ahead in no end in the last few years, even just AI the last few months that we are aware of, the general public. Has that made a big difference within the consular services?
Absolutely. I mean, well, it's made a big difference across the work of the embassy. Just that, talking about emergency travel documents, we have a global centre which coordinates the issuing of those documents, and that work is done remotely and electronically, the vast majority of it. The final passport obviously has to get physically to the person, but 95% of the work is done electronically, and it's based here in this Torre. If you were to go down 3 floors, you would find our people who are busily working away for the hundreds of emergency passports that we issue every week, every month to Brits around the world.
Every week, every month.
Yes, absolutely. You might even find, in a month you might find, a busy month you might find it into the thousands. So number of Brits travelling.
I'm blown away.
And Spain is the busiest country.
And you've only got 50 people working over here doing that.
Well, but the service, the service there is an extraordinary service, and in the what we would call the straightforward cases where the person is already on the system, we can have that turned around well inside a day. And technology's allowed that to happen. Technology has also allowed us, in fact, just to connect with people in so many different ways. Of course, that face-to-face or voice-to-voice is still really important. So if you call up a consulate, you will get somebody who will answer the phone. But what not everybody knows is that somebody may well be sitting in Malaga, which is where we have one of our main contact centres, who are people specialised in knowing the answers to the sorts of questions that people may have. And if they need help on the ground, they'll refer them to people who are actually physically on the ground in consulates around different parts of the country or the world. And it's technology that's allowed them to do that, allow them to give a better service, better answers, and become more expert. And of course, on the comm side, on communication, social media, we're present on all sorts of different social media networks so that we can give information to people about what's happening, what's going on when they need it. We use that an awful lot during the Brexit process, which we've talked about on other occasions, when people were uncertain about what was happening, what the next steps were. And during the pandemic, of course, when, from one month to the next, the rules were changing all the time. So we're able, on all sorts of different channels, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, we're able to get out there and explain what we're doing so we can be more transparent and hopefully give a better service. I hope that's the impression that people have.
And I think it is. I know that when the news came out that the Brits who'd been out of the country for 15 years could now vote in the UK elections. I remember when I shared this on our social media regarding it, and I had people putting, just gone on the page and registered.
Excellent.
And yet, if they, as I say, it's between sharing
and
that information that they find out.
It's the technology. That's technology. So the tech to get the message out, and then you just a few clicks, and actually it was a remarkably simple process to I shouldn't say remarkably, because of course it was a British government process, so it was excellent.
Logically,
but it was a simple process.
A simple process.
Indeed.
Well, thank you ever so much for welcoming us once again here at the embassy. It's a lot of fun. It's nice to come and visit you, and I know you've got a very busy day, so I'm going to let you carry on. If you have questions for His Majesty's Ambassador Hugh Elliott, please do drop us a line and we'll pass them on, and hopefully in our next interviews we can address them.
Well, thanks very much. It's lovely to be with you again.
Thank you so much.
In this amazing retreat that we organize in a 15th century monastery where you will feel brand new with the uplifting activities in the sacred places, with yoga, with kundalini, with breathwork, explore the local nature and have a little bit of cultural activities like flamenco and paella, as well as delicious foods. The stargazing is out of this world, and you'll sleep super well in the monk cells, feeling the energy of this monastery. Come join us.
Hi, I'm Monica.
Hi, I'm Paula.
We are sisters and we are here to talk to you because we are the founders of Family Support Group.
And we bring you the doctors, caregivers and nurses to your own house for help you.
Our mom wanted to be at home and we had problems with the healthcare system in Spain because you must talk with a lot of doctors, you must
it tried to investigate many things and many information, and we were absolutely alone.
We can bring you all the medical service to your house.
We want to be your family support group.
No one needs to pass away in a hospital or in a hospice. You can be in your own house with your family. Call us. We are here for you.
Remember, I was your hero. Yeah. I'd wear your heart like a
Good morning, Spain.
Good morning, Spain. Good morning, Spain.
Good morning, Spain. Good morning, Spain. Good morning, Spain. Buenos dias.
Good morning, Spain. Today we're going to be looking at books about moving abroad and living as an expat. Moving abroad can be terrifying as well as exciting. It's a big life change, so it's very important when making such a big change that you do a bit of research. You need to feel inspired and confident in your decision of where to go and how to do it. Here are some books that might help you, answer some questions, and may even inspire you. First, we have The Travel Book. This is a Lonely Planet book. So when I first started traveling, you were either a Lonely Planeter or you went for the Rough Guides option. I was always a Lonely Planeter. They're fantastic guides. So this one is called The Travel Book. It came out in 2004, but there's been quite a few updated versions since, so it's up to you which one you go for. It's a comprehensive guide to every country in the world. It's a coffee table book, so not only does it look great and fill you with wanderlust, it's also informative and educates you on every place you could imagine. So if you're still in the early stages of planning a move abroad, The Travel Book can definitely provide inspiration for the next step. Lonely Planet have larger travel guides for specific countries and even cities, so do visit the Lonely Planet website to brush up on your knowledge on places from Belgium to Brazil. Then we have a book called Fresh Eggs and Dog Beds, Living the Dream in Rural Ireland. This is by Nick and Leslie Albert and came out in 2017. It's a charming memoir that follows a journey from suburban England to a rustic Irish cottage, where the author and his life embrace a simpler, humorous and occasionally challenging life amidst the idyllic Irish countryside, with vivid anecdotes and enduring characters. Then we have A Year of Living Danishly, yes, Danishly, by Helen Russell. This came out in 2015. When her husband was offered an opportunity to work in Denmark, British journalist Helen Russell was intrigued to hear that Danes are consistently voted among the world's happiest people. During her 2-year stay, she decided to explore what they did differently to achieve such levels of contentment. Through witty observations and determined research, she unveils the Danish lifestyle secrets that promote happiness and well-being. You'll recognise the title of this one if you haven't read it, A Year in Provence by Peter Mayle. Can you believe that this came out in 1989? British author Peter Mayle recounts his experiences as he and his wife relocate to the idyllic countryside of southern France in a vivid and enchanting tale told against a backdrop of lavender fields and vineyards. Through various humorous anecdotes, he navigates the cultural differences, renovates an old farmhouse, and discovers the quirks of provincial life. The book went on to be one of the most successful travel books of all time, selling over 6 million copies and inspiring thousands of Brits to leave Blighty in search of a warmer, gentler life. A Waiter in Paris, this is by Edward Chisholm, came out much more recently in 2022. It's a compelling story about a young Englishman who sets out to reinvent himself as a genuine Parisian waiter. It contrasts the superficial romance and glamour of the Parisian restaurant scene with the real-life struggle, cutthroat competition and prejudice that staff have to deal with behind closed doors. Now, I have to say, reading this book won't necessarily want to make you become a Parisian waiter, but it's a fabulous read. And finally, My Family and Other Animals. This was written in 1956 by British naturalist Gerald Durrell. It's an autobiographical account of 5 years of his childhood. He was aged 10 at the start. It's set between 1935 and 1939, when the family moved to Corfu. Gerald is the youngest in a family consisting of their widowed mother, writer and eldest son Larry, the gun-mad Leslie, and diet-obsessed sister Margot, together with Roger the dog. They are fiercely protected by their taxi driver friend Spiro and mentored by the polymath Theo, who provides Gerald with his education in natural history. It's the first and most well-known of his Corfu trilogy and was made into a very popular and beautifully done 6-part TV series called The Durrells, which came out in 2016, ran for 6 series to 2019 and starred Keely Hawes. If you enjoyed the series, then definitely go back and read the book.
Hello and good morning, Spain. Today we will be making chorizo with fried quail's eggs. Real Spanish classic. I've got some pan on here just with the tiniest amount of oil, and another pan on here with just a little bit more. That's where we're going to fry our quail eggs. Both on medium to high heat. I'm just going to start with throwing in these nicely sliced pieces of chorizo I've got, and you can hear that sizzle straight away. That's what we're looking for. Chorizo goes in, we want it to get a nice colour either side, and while it's just cooking away, we're going to put in the bread as well, and that's going to catch all that beautiful oil that comes off these pieces of chorizo. So just a nice piece of bread on either side, and we just want to keep an eye on this. Once we've flipped and it started to release a little bit of the oils, we don't have to worry too much. A nice golden crispy colour. And then all we've got to do is plate up. We'll do our quail's eggs last second, because they take no time at all. This is a really good quick snack, this one. Keeping an eye on our bread, toasting. Meanwhile, just a bit of seasoning, a bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper. Get some nice colour on that bread too. Perfect. Just keep moving that chorizo around, giving an opportunity for that bread to catch all that lovely oil that's coming off it. Getting some great colour on there now, so we're almost ready to start with our quail eggs. So I've got my bread toasted and I know my chorizo is nice and cooked, so I can set that to one side while I concentrate on my eggs. So quail's eggs, really simple, cook really fast, but same rule. So what I like to do here is just have good control temperature on your pan, medium to high heat. Take your quail egg and just give it a little slice on the bottom here, and with a decent knife you should be able to just tear it open, and then you're just going to pour. So I'm going to do this with, I think 3, why not? 1, 2, and 3. Bit of seasoning on this, of course, bit of Maldon salt and a little bit of pepper. And then we're pretty much time to plate up. This is going to be really quick. So while that's frying, we're going to start plating up. Got a lovely toasted bread there that's soaked up all those oils. Just going to place our chorizo sausage over the top of that. Beautiful. And then just looking after these quail's eggs now, so giving them a move around. I like the yolks to be still nice and runny, but again, personal preference. If you wanted to give them a flip now, now's the time to do it. Let's drain off a bit of that oil, and then let's start placing it along the top of our bread here. Now, just looking at it and the smells that are coming off this, you know it's going to be fantastic. So we're just going to finish this off with a little bit of salt and a little bit of chopped parsley. Beautiful. Now that is a breakfast sandwich. That's chorizo and fried quail's eggs. Thank you very much. Now let's get into the best part, the tasting. You know this is going to be fantastic. Let's see if we can get that yolk just running down the side there. Wow, look at that. Bit of the bread, bit of the egg. Dip in the egg there. Just delicious. Something about chorizo and eggs, they are just best friends. Thank you very much and good morning.
This segment is sponsored by the School of Canine Science.
I thought Nando's segment of Snouting About this morning might be little dogs barking in bars, because that's what we went through before we came to the programme. But no, we've received a question from Sarah, who would like to know, Nando, how she can stop her dog chasing
cars. Yeah, yeah.
Chasing cars.
Yeah, it's a really, really dangerous,
very dangerous
behaviour problem, and it's unfortunately one of those things that is life or death. Like, you mess about with that kind of thing, you get it wrong, and like, it's game over.
Yeah.
So, firstly, hire a professional. Okay, get a professional to come and coach you through it, because they're going to be able to give you the on-spot coaching and make sure you don't screw.
Yeah, it's a lot more serious than just barking in bars.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
so definitely hire a professional. But on the other side of that, we can also look at the behaviour problem as a general problem and go through the various things that you need to do to make sure that your dog is going to get through and come out the other side. So first of all, you don't want the dog to practice the behaviour, not only because it's dangerous and you don't get that many chances of getting it wrong, but also, normally when a dog is performing a behaviour, it's getting some kind of reinforcement. So there's something that's paying the dog to do it. Well, that doesn't mean that you're giving a dog a biscuit every time it does it.
Good boy, chase another car.
But sometimes, depending on the breed, they might get a cascade of chemicals within their body that actually reinforce, make them feel good, make them feel strong, or if they're scared, they feel like they're chasing the car away and getting it to go away.
Adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it can be adrenaline. So the first thing, we don't want to allow the dog to practice the behaviour. The more they practice it, the better they get at it, okay, because they're getting that reward. That's where the old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, comes from. You can change it, but they're more practiced at it, so it becomes a little bit more difficult as you go through it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is management. Keep the dog safe, keep the dog on a lead, okay? Avoid those kind of areas, that kind of thing. But that isn't dealing with the problem itself. That's just keeping the dog safe. The third thing is then teaching the dog what it is you want them to do instead, okay? So many people focus on, don't do that, don't chase the car, and they end up punishing the dog or telling the dog off for doing it. And I understand why and the theory behind it. The problem is that doing that doesn't tell the dog what you want it to do instead. And it might be something as simple as look at me, okay? Because you can't look at me and chase a car at the same time. Like, you will run into something. Or it might be sit down, because you can't run and sit at the same time, okay? So it wants to be something that is mutually exclusive to the behaviour of running. All right, so maybe a sit, we could pick that. And then what we have to do is train that repeatedly until that becomes a reflex. And the car ends up becoming the command to sit. So the dog will look at the car and automatically go, oh, if I sit, I get a biscuit. So it goes, bosh, boom. And that's what you end up
changing that the trigger.
Is changing the trigger. The car no longer means I'm going to run after it. The car means sit down, because the reward is going to be bigger than the reward I get from that.
Do you think it's chasing the car because it's like a playful thing, or more protective to get away from me and I'm chasing you away? I mean,
it could be a whole number of different things, and that's why hiring a professional is really important, because if you get the motivation wrong,
dog psychiatrist,
you can you can get it. You can just a dog trainer will do. But,
you have to be a bit of everything, though, don't you? I mean, you're getting into the dog psyche, really.
Yeah. It's understanding the motivation behind the behaviour changes the way that you train through it. Okay, so that's why I can give that general advice around that kind of topic. But when it comes to something life or death, I don't want to give specifics, because if it's slightly wrong and they perform it slightly wrong, it's such a massive payoff that ends up happening.
Yeah, and it's a very important matter. If you've got a dog that's running in the roads, obviously depends on how busy those roads are, but if they've got that tendency, that's the last thing we would want to do. We lost a dog because my grandfather, I remember, just called our dog and he was over there and he ran across and a car just came unexpected. It was just horrific.
Yeah,
absolutely horrific. Roads and cars and dogs don't match.
No, they really don't.
It's funny how our dogs play such an important part. I remember every dog since a child. We learn so much from our dogs.
Yeah.
And it's they're a blessing. They're a blessing. Even this little one. Big love from little dogs. Well, if you've got questions, Fernando, do keep them coming in. If you've got questions for anyone, please do keep them coming in. We're very happy to answer them and keep you informed in a fun way. Thank you so much for joining us. That is it for another week. Do take care of yourselves and remember to like, share and follow on our social media, and join us again next week. We'll see you then. Bye for now. Bye.